So welcome everyone to our Saturday Sanga, Saturday Sangha. I'm now speaking from Poland, from Sadhu-bhavan in Poland. Just got here a few days ago from Germany, since it is still the Hare Krishna movement. Devotees ask me how long I'm going to stay here, and the answer is somewhere between 2 weeks and 12 months. So we don't know. So we have a song of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, and I've prepared myself to have harmonium ready. We're continuing with the section on Dainya, humility. And in this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is continuing his mood of confession. The translation to begin with, the song begins Amar Jivana, so it's referred to with those words. Translation: I am an impious sinner, and I have caused others great anxiety and trouble. I have never hesitated to perform sinful act for my own enjoyment, devoid of all compassion, concerned only with my own selfish interests. I am remorseful seeing others happy. I am a perpetual liar, and the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. The material desires within the core of my heart are unlimited. I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity and bewildered by worldly affairs. Envy and egotism are the ornaments I wear. Ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds, yet I am very active and enthusiastic to perform wicked deeds, wicked acts. For worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. Thus, I am destroyed by my own greed and am always lustful. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. I am such a person, devoid of all good works, forever inclined toward evil, worn out and wasted by various miseries. Now, in old age, deprived of all means of success, humbled and poor, Bhaktivinoda submits his tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme Lord. And the song, let's see if we can do this. Āmāra jīvana sada pāpe rata nāhiko punyera lesha. Amara jīvana sada pāpe rata nāhiko punyera lesha. Parere, udvega, diyāchi, koto, diyāchi, jivana, klesha. parere udvega diyāchi koto diyāchi jivere klesha nija sukha lagi pāpe nahi dhari doyā-hīna swārtha-paro nija sukha lagi pāpe nahi dhari doyā-hīna swārtha-paro para-sukhe dukhi sadā mithya-bhās para-dukha sukha-karo para-sukhe dukhi sadā mithya-bhās para-dukha sukha-karo ashesha kamana imaje mona kroti dambha-parāyana ashesha kamana imaje mona kroti dambha-parāyana mada-matta sadā vishaye mohita hingsa-garva vibhushana mada-matta sadā vishaye mohita hingsa-garva vibhushana nidralasya hata sukharje virata akarje udyogi ami nidralasya hata sukharje virata akarje udyogi ami pratishtalagiya saj-jana-varjita lobha-hata sadā kami pratishtalagiya saj-jana-varjita lobha-hata sadā kami eheno durjana saj-jana-varjita aparadhi nirantara eheno durjana saj-jana-varjita aparadhi nirantara sukha-karja shunya saranagati mana nanadukhe jada jada sukha-karja shunya saranagati mana nanadukhe jada jada vardhakye upaya vihina tate dina akinchana vardhakye upaya vihina tate dina akinchana Bhaktivinoda Prabhuracharane Kore Dukha Nivedana Bhaktivinoda Prabhuracharane Kore Dukha Nivedana Amara Jivana Sada pāpe rata nāhiko punyera lesha Amara jīvana sada-bhape rata nāhiko punyera lesha parere udvega diyāchi koto diyāchi lesha parere udvega diyāchi koto diyāchi lesha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, translation of this song. Oh, where did I put it? So, Amar Jivana sadā pāpe rata nāhiko punyera lesha. I'm an impious sinner. Sadā pāpe rata, dedicated to sin always, and have caused others great anxiety and trouble. This is a summary translation. Parere udvega, causing trouble to others. Diyāchi, giving, I give. Yes, I give klesha, misery, to other lives, jivana. Koto, how many? Nāhiko punyera lesha. Lesha, I think, means a fragment, a small amount. There is not even a fragment, small portion of punya, of piety. Second verse, nija sukha lagi. Oh, I see. It's been in the translation. It's been merged into verse number 2. I've never hesitated to perform sinful act for my own enjoyment. Yeah, I don't know. Devoid of all compassion. No, this is part of 2. Doyā-hīna swārtha-paro. Nija sukha lagiya. Okay, I have never hesitated to perform sinful acts for my own enjoyment. Pāpe nahi dori. Doyā-hīna swārtha-paro. Being dedicated, para, to my own interests, swārtha, doyā-hīna, I am devoid of compassion. I am remorseful seeing others happy. Para-sukhe, dukkhi. So here, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, of course, in many of his songs, there's a very Sanskritic Bengali. So he's saying, I am a dukkhi, I am a person having misery. The Sanskrit form is similar to the word, we have the word yoga and yogi. So we have dukkha and dukkhi. A person who practices yoga is a yogi. A person who practices dukkha or is constituted of misery is a dukkhi. So para-sukhe, in others' happiness, dukkhi, I I am practicing misery. I am miserable. Sadā mithya-bhās. See the translation here. I'm a perpetual liar. Yeah, my language, bhasha, is mithya, is false. So I'm sadā mithya-bhāsi, always telling lies. And the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. Para-sukhe, sukha-karo. Kara means making, so making happiness. If someone else is miserable, at another's misery, sukha-karo, it makes me happy. Yeah. Ashesha kamana. The material desires within the core of my heart are unlimited. Ashesha means unlimited. Kamana, one with desires. I am wrathful. Hridi maje, more krodhi. Krodhi again. Krodha means anger. Krodhi, one who is angry. Devoted to false pride and arrogance. Dambha-parāyana. Parayana means devoted to, dedicated. Dambha means proud. And hridi maje. Maje is, I think it's from madhye, which means in the middle. So situated in the middle of my heart. Hridi maje more. Krodhi, dambha-parāyana, mada-matta sadā. I'm intoxicated, mada, I am matta, I am intoxicated, which is which? Mada and matta. One is intoxication and one is madness. So he says, I'm always in that condition. Vishaya mohita. Where am I here? Yeah, bewildered by material affairs. Envy and egotism are the ornaments I wear. Himsa, garva, vibhushana. Vibhushana, bhushana and vibhushana can both mean ornaments. And himsa, garva, violence, and here he says envy and egotism. Yes, same. Himsa can be envy. Then the fourth verse, ruined by laziness and sleep. Nidra alasya hata. Hata is translating here as ruined. Can say beaten also, or struck by the laziness of sleep. Sukha-karo. I resist all pious deeds. I avoid pious deeds. And akarje udyogi ami. Udyoga means industry, endeavor, working hard. So I am one who is very industrious, you could say, in doing bad things, akarya. Pratishta lagya satya-ācaran lobha-hata sadā kami. For worldly fame, pratishta, and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness, satya-ācaran. Thus I am destroyed by my own greed and am always lustful. Lobha-hata sadā kami. The same, it's the same form. Kama, from kama, lust or desire, we get kami, a person who is lusty or desirous. And lobha-hata, I have been stricken, we can say, stricken with greed. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. Eheno durjana saj-jana-varjita aparadhi nirantara. So eheno, means this, heno, such, durjana, bad person, saj-jana-varjita. Varjita is again a very Sanskritic word, as is sat-jana. Sat-jana, good persons, can say real persons, but comes to mean good persons. Gentle folk. Saj-jana Toshani was the name of the journal established by Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Aparadhi nirantara. I think that should be a long I. So again, aparadha is the offense, and aparadhi is the person who does offending. Nirantara, without end, without antara means end, nirantara, without end. Shubha karya, shunya. We all know the word shunya, shunyavadi, nirvishesha shunyavadi, paschatya desha tarine, Srila Prabhupada. Where are we? 5, second part. Forever inclined toward evil, worn out, wasted by various miseries. Shubha karya shunya, without, devoid of all good works. So shubha, auspicious, karya, duty or just activities, job or work, and shunya, empty, devoid. Sadā anartha mana, one whose mind, mana, is sadā, always, anartha, inclined to literally useless activity, things which are valueless, anartha. Nana dukkha jara jara. I am worn out and wasted, jara jara, by various miseries. Nana dukkha, nana meaning various. And again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes this confession in his old age. He says, now in old age, bhardake akon bihina, upaya bihina. Upaya means a process or a means, a way to do something, facilitation for something. And vihina, completely without. So without any means, tate din akinchan. So I am dina, I am wretched or poor. Akinchana, here is translated as poor. Of course, there's a positive sense of akinchana as one who is without any material possessions. And as many of you may have heard me explain, the Sanskrit word akinchana starts out with the question word kim, which is the asking what, to which the general answer is something, kinchana. And then you have akinchana, meaning the opposite or nothing. So a person who has nothing is akinchana. And finally, Bhaktivinoda signs his prayer. So he is making a confession and saying, yes, this is me. Bhaktivinoda Prabhu Charane, offering at the lotus feet of the Lord, Kore Dukkha Nivedana, is offering this tale, this offering, Nivedana, of misery. He makes this nivedana, this offering of dukkha, making an offering of misery, which is interesting because it suggests that one way we can pray to the Lord is to just bring our misery to the Lord. We can come before the Lord and say, "Here I am. This is my misery. Please accept it. If you want me to go on with my misery, okay. That is for you to decide, not me. But here it is, and I have no place else, no one else to offer it to, so I'm offering it to you." Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura ki jai. Of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakura composes these songs of humility to help us to have a sense of what humility could be like in our relation to the Lord. And as we've seen, they have this confessional mood. When I was growing up, we didn't have this. I grew up in a Protestant church, a sort of smaller, later development of American Protestantism, sect, you can say. And there was nothing like confession. Much later, I learned from the Catholic tradition, they have this practice of confession, that you go in the church and you go to the priest and you sit in this booth, and I guess the idea is you don't see each other, but you hear, and you speak whatever it is you want to confess, and the priest is understood to be a representative of the Lord, and so he is hearing, and then accepting that, accepting your confession, which is then purifying the heart, and he's, as I understand, generally giving you some kind of sadhana, or a kind of purification practice, penance, in order to purify yourself and hopefully overcome that fault, that anartha. I remember in the book of Yamuna Devi, written by, not by Yamuna, but by a god sister, Yamuna Devi was telling how when she was very young, I think she was 6 years old, maybe 7 years old. And she grew up in a Catholic family in Western America, I think in Montana. And all the children were required, they were expected to do confession, to go one after another to the priest in the church. And she says that she couldn't think of anything to confess. She couldn't think of anything that she had done wrong or bad to confess. But everyone was doing, and it was expected. You had to make a confession. So she thought up something. She made up something to tell the priest. But then she realized that this in itself was wrong, because now she was telling a lie. So in the process of making a confession, she was doing something that required confession, but she didn't confess that. And then there's also a funny incident that Shaunaka Rishi Prabhu tells from years ago preaching in Ireland. Ireland, of course, is a very strong Catholic country like Poland. And I don't know, maybe he's exaggerating what happened, but he says it happened that they were distributing books, traveling, and so one devotee, they were in a small town or a village, and one devotee went into a church to take a break, and he sat. I guess he wanted to chant Gayatri. He sat in the confession booth, in the part where the priest sits. And while he was sitting there, some person came into the confession booth and started making a confession. So this devotee thought, well, Krishna's arrangement. I'm the priest, okay, so I'll listen to this. And then he spoke, what to do for penance. Well, for this next week at least, you should stop eating meat. And like that. So he was, and it was not just one person. According to Shaunaka, it said a whole line of people came one after another, giving their confessions. Hare Krishna. So we don't have quite such arrangement. Yeah, it's but Bhaktivinoda Thakura is suggesting that it can also be an aspect of our tradition. Maybe not in such formal way, but of course it's really about looking into our heart and seeing what's there and looking for how to free ourselves from all of the faults that are there. And we understand that's only possible with the light of Krishna. But the act of confessing, it can be to another devotee, another Vaishnava, can be to Guru, can be to Krishna. We may go in the temple and say, well, Krishna, here I am with all of my faults. All of this can be purifying. Hare Krishna. So, do we have any show and tell for today?
Guru Maharaj, no, we don't have anyone sign up yet.
Okay, everyone is, I heard, well, some devotees are going to Rata Yatra today. At least in Poland, we have in Wrocław, there's a Rata Yatra going on. So from here, some devotees have gone. But we don't have Rata Yatra. Okay, show and tell. So I will do a show and tell. One second. Bear with me. We have Lord Jagannath here. Yes. Jagannath Subhadra Baladeva ki jai. And we also have Shishigorni Tai. Shri Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. And maybe why not? I should also show we have, since last year, we have a nice Vyasa-san for Srila Prabhupada. Let's see. Light is not so good. No, not good. I can turn on some lights. Okay. Lights are coming. That might do something. Oh, not very much. Oh well. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Yeah.
We can see Guru Maharaj. We can see.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, so I was asked to tell a little bit the story of how I got out of India, how I escaped India. All right. So I was at this very nice farm, Nilachal Vedic village. The reason I ended up there, I was in Mumbai. I had been doing some promotion of my book, the cow care book. Had some very nice meetings, including one devotee industrialist, one of the senior devotees of Chopati, who very kindly offered to provide the funds for my book in hard copy to be given 70 copies of my book we'll be purchasing and giving to colleges and universities all around Mumbai. So one devotee is funding that. And so I was in Mumbai, and I had been making plans initially to go to China. That was back in February, but well, January, and then all this news came of the virus coming out of China. So I understood that's probably not going to be possible to go to China or Hong Kong. So I hadn't made any flight bookings for that. So that was not a problem. I thought, okay, let me just wait and see. And after some time, I decided, okay, let's go to Ukraine because devotees in Ukraine had asked me to come to do some university program lecturing. So I arranged that. I booked a flight. Everything was set. But then in early March, the news was coming that now this virus is spreading around Europe. And my plan had been to go to Ukraine and from Ukraine to Hungary and from Hungary to Slovenia. So then I got a note from devotees in Hungary. They said, very sorry, but we're not allowing anyone to visit any of the temples in Hungary. Doesn't matter, you're a Swami or whatever. Okay, so, and then it was like that. One door after another was closing. So then I shifted my flight to Ukraine by almost 1 month. I changed the flight to April 14th, I rebooked. And then 2 or 3 days later, I got a message from the airline. Your flight is canceled. Yeah. No explanation, but I understood what it was. So, okay. Now I understand. I'm not going anywhere. There's nowhere to go. I'm in India. I might as well find a place to be. I had been staying with a very nice family in Mumbai, but it wouldn't be practical to stay with them long for any period of time. So then I talked with Gauranga Prabhu, who is in charge of Govardhan Eco Village, which is a wonderful project of Chowpatty Temple north of Mumbai. And he said, yes, come. He said, you can stay for a couple of weeks, but then we will be closing down because of this virus situation. And so then I planned the next day I was going to go. And then the next day, message came, we're sorry, but also you can't come here at all. The police have come and they have said that no foreigners can stay here. And at that time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami had been staying in Govardhan Eco Village. Even he had to leave and make some arrangement. He had to go back to America. So then I thought, okay, I'll go to Talasari Farm, Nilachal Vedic Village. We contacted the devotees there and they said, yes, very nice, no problem, please come. Talasari Village, Talasari Farm is about 45 minutes away from Govardhan Eco Village. So we arranged everything. A devotee came, he drove me to Talasari. And when I arrived, devotees were very nice and they offered me a seat to take a little break until they work something out where I will stay. And then the temple president came and said, oh, Maharaj, we're so glad to see you, but there's a problem. The police came this morning and they said that no foreigners can stay here. So we're not quite sure what to do with you. But meanwhile, if we could just have you go to our guest house, and then we'll work it out. We'll see. Maybe I can speak with the police because he had a relationship with them. So they took me to their guest house, which is not on the farm directly. It's about 1 kilometer away. And he said, you just stay here and we'll come and get you. We'll bring you prasadam. So I had to stay in the guest house. I couldn't go outside of the guest house because I shouldn't be there. And I was the only person in the whole guest house except for the chokidar. And I didn't have any internet connection there, and I also didn't have any phone connection. So that was interesting. I had air conditioning, although that wasn't so much needed yet. That was going to come later. Anyway, after 2 days, they brought me back to the farm and said, you can stay here at the farm. Just don't go outside the farm. And I said, but you have workers who come from the village every day and they're going to see me. And if they see me, they could report, there's this foreigner there they may report to the police. And the president said, no, they won't, they don't know anything. Don't worry, just don't go outside the farm, okay? Okay. Yeah, so for 10 weeks I stayed inside the area of the farm. But it was nice there, very nice devotees, nice temple. About halfway after maybe 4 or 5 weeks, they said, actually, we're going to be renovating the temple. And so they moved all the deities out of the temple, and they made a kind of a pandal, a simple makeshift pandal, just next to the Goshala. And they set up the temple there. So it was kind of like there were no walls, no need of walls. It was quite warm. And then they said, and we're also going to rebuild the kitchen. So they completely tore down the old kitchen and prasadam hall and cleared it away. So both places were construction sites for the rest of the time I was there, which meant there were a few construction people coming, contractors, and they were also seeing me, this white person. But anyway, nobody bothered. I just, for a while, I was worried that, maybe the police are going to come, but then I thought, anyway, it's all under Krishna's control, and what's the worst thing they can do? Take me away from here and maybe put me on an airplane, send me somewhere, or just put me in quarantine in a school somewhere for 2 weeks. I don't know. Anyway, Krishna protected. And I was thinking, because the government was saying about every 2 weeks, the government was saying, so we're going to extend the lockdown. Okay, another 2 weeks. Okay, another 4 weeks. Okay, how long is this going? And I was also thinking, even if the lockdown is if it's ended, opened up, I'm not really going to be able to stay in India at that time, because it's very interesting, but as a Westerner in India at the present time, it would not be at all good. I would be basically an outcast. Why? Because people think, oh, it's these foreigners who have brought this virus. It's the same situation in China. I read an article. Foreigners in China now have a very difficult time because they are seen as bringing the virus back to China. It started in China, it left China, it came back to China, and now foreigners, even foreigners who have lived in China for many years, are having a very difficult time. Another concern I had was that as this virus is spreading within India, even I might be safe and devotees are safe. There's a problem for me it could be more and more of a problem to leave India to get to anywhere else, because everywhere else in the world will say, we don't want anybody to come from India. That's dangerous. So what am I supposed to do? So then I started thinking, maybe I should really find some way to leave India. And I was looking at flights on the internet, and I found a flight. There were these so-called evacuation flights. So Lufthansa was offering an evacuation flight to Frankfurt, Mumbai, Frankfurt, nonstop. And it looked good. The price was not too much, was manageable. But I understood, I looked at in the details of the website where they're explaining everything. And they're explaining that in order to take this flight, one would have to be a German citizen, basically, or, you know, at least, or a European Union citizen. Well, I thought I'm a resident of Poland legally. But is that enough? I'm not sure. So I contacted this very nice couple who lived near Frankfurt, asking them if they have idea what, well, actually they were urging me to come. And he is a medical doctor. So he said, well, I'll arrange for you to come as my patient, as my medical patient. So he did that. He arranged. He wrote a letter to the official immigration police of the airport. He got a reply from them. The reply said basically, yes, it looks like you have good reasons for this person to come, but we cannot make the final decision. Only the immigration officer at the airport can make that decision. So it was still a little bit uncertain. In any case, we decided we'll try it. So I went back on the internet to make the booking. And when I went back on and found the flight, the cost of the flight had doubled. It was now twice as much. It was nearly 1,000 euros. So I said, well, Hare Krishna, that's too expensive. Just forget it. So I wrote to the devotees and said, anyway, it was a nice idea, but I think I'll forget it. And he wrote back, no, let's not forget it. Let's figure out how to do this. And so we tried to book I tried to book the flight and it didn't work. They wouldn't take my my bank card or whatever. It just wasn't working. I tried and tried. And again, finally, I decided, okay, Krishna wants me to stay here. And it was night and it was late. So I gave up and I sent a message saying it's not working. Next morning, I got up and there was a message. And the devotees were saying, well, we booked your flight. So you're booked for tomorrow morning at 2:30 in the morning. And you have to be at the airport 4 hours before the flight. So like that. And this was on, let's see, this was Saturday. The flight was Sunday morning. So Saturday morning, I had an appointment to meet a dentist on that morning, Saturday morning. And that's a whole nother story because I had to cross the border of Gujarat and cross the border again coming back. And anyway, we managed and visited the dentist. Very nice dentist, devotee. But what he did ended up being completely useless. No fault of his, I'm sure, but absolutely useless. 2 hours later, it fell out, the thing that he had put on the tooth. Anyway, so I had a very busy day on Saturday, getting eventually to the airport. And I think we were practically the first ones there. Airport, imagine, this will be hard to imagine, but an Indian airport, completely empty. And this is the new modern international airport of Mumbai. It's a very first-class airport, very modern. Anyway, so we showed up there. And then there's a whole process of checking before you even enter the airport. So they're checking your temperature, they're having you fill out a form, and this and that, identification, ticket, and so on. And then they let you in the airport. But they don't let you just go anywhere in the airport. They have everything closed off except for the pathway to the specific counter where you check in. I mean, I'm sort of elaborating too much this story, but a little bit more. So anyway, managed to check in. Everything went very smoothly. Also security, very peaceful security. Nobody there. And then you get into this shopping area. Nobody in the shopping area, totally empty, closed, dark, no lights. Eventually get out to the gate 2.5 hours early. And there I noticed gradually as people were coming, many of them were older people like me, and many of them were in wheelchairs. They were being brought in wheelchairs, airport wheelchairs. And I thought, yes, actually, this is a great idea. When I get to Frankfurt, I want a wheelchair. Because when I go through immigration, this may spark the little bit of sympathy that may decide yes or no whether I'm admitted or not. So that's what I did. It required that I wait an additional hour when I got to Frankfurt. It took a whole hour for them to arrange to bring me with a wheelchair because there was no one in the Frankfurt airport. Huge airport, empty. Anyway, they arranged and everything went completely smoothly. I didn't have to say a word to the immigration officer, not one word. Just gave the papers and I was allowed to pass. Didn't even get a stamp in the passport. Yeah, so it's like that. Krishna opens. Krishna can close doors, Krishna can open doors. Okay, that's my much too long. I'm telling everyone 5 minutes, and here I am going on and on. My apologies for that. Hare Krishna. Yeah, detective story. Oh well. Okay, shall we continue with dialogical Vaishnavism?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, please. And thank you for the story. It was not too long, not at all.
Okay. Okay, I need to share the screen. Screen share from the host is disabled. Share screen. Still disabled.
Let me find an option, Guru Maharaj, just a second, because it's not the same as last time. Just a second, please.
Oh, they're changing things. Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna. Oh, now I'm a co-host. Okay. Share screen. Oh, here it is. Okay, here we are. Last time we did a whirlwind reading through of ISKCON's official interfaith statement. I might mention, just yesterday I spoke with Saranagati Prabhu in Oxford. He used to be very much involved with ISKCON communications. And at that time, he felt there's a need that we have such an official statement. And so Saranagati is the main author of this statement, which, as I mentioned last time, has been approved by the GVC, which means, yes, it is official. And Saranagati was telling me that it's quite interesting, I think. This statement has been hugely influential, not so much in ISKCON, although it has been translated into 6 or 7 languages with some explanation, different pamphlets for devotees. But it's been very influential in other Hindu organizations. There are various Hindu organizations around the world, and some of them are, some of them are active in capacities which are not just religious but political. They just want to get recognition for Hindus in Western countries, things like that. In any case, this statement, which has 5 parts, has been taken as a kind of model for other Hindu groups. So again, we can read through, and this time we can go more slowly and reflect a little about the content. The first one, it has 5 parts, but the first part has three parts in one. So in ISKCON, we view all communities and philosophies advocating and practicing love for God and founded on revealed scripture as representative of the ultimate religious expression. So first we can say, this is a positive statement about other religious communities and philosophies. it's saying we view them as representative of something ultimate. We're calling ultimate religious expression. So in other words, we are this is an expression of inclusivism, you may want to say. We spoke about exclusivism, inclusivism, and pluralism. We might say this is a kind of inclusivist expression. So any community, any philosophy that's advocating and practicing love for God, that's the first thing. And second, is founded on revealed scripture. That's the second qualification. We see that as representative of ultimate religious expression. Now, now comes a wider acceptance. We also respect the spiritual worth of paths of genuine self-realization and search for the absolute truth, in which the concept of a personal deity is not explicit. That's a very interesting way of putting it, and we may wonder who is included in that. We might want to include Buddhists and Jains, I would say, for a start. They both could be identified as not explicitly having a concept of a personal deity. Although in both cases, on some level, they do accept some sort of personal deity. But that gets complicated very quickly. I would even venture to include Taoism within this, because I visited Taoist temples in China where they will have so many murtis, so many deities of persons who are worshipped. They have, we saw we saw what we would call an arti, and it was very elaborate. It included a kind of a dance by the priest. It was wonderful. He was offering flowers to the deity, to the murti, while the music was going on. I don't think he was dancing in rhythm exactly to the music. The music was kind of chaotic, but he was doing this very interesting dance. So, and then the third part, other communities and organizations advocating humanitarian, ethical, and moral standards are also valued as being beneficial to society. So here we might think about what Krishna says in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna gives a series of verses where he begins by saying the best is that you are completely absorbed in devotional service, completely absorbed. Mayi eva mana adatsva, your mind is completely absorbed. And if you cannot do that, then practice bhakti. And if you can't do that, then engage in some other practice, but become purified by your practice. You will become purified. And if you can't do that, then give some charity and so on. He gives a whole series. So in a way, this first statement is reflecting, I would say, that statement of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. it's reflecting the inclusiveness of Krishna's statement in Bhagavad Gita. You can look chapter 12, beginning verse 7 or 8. I won't go into that now, but that's there. Then the statement continues with part 2. ISKCON views dialogue between its members and people of other faiths as an opportunity to listen to others and to understand what others believe and value, to develop mutual understanding and mutual trust, and to share our commitment and faith with others while respecting their commitment to their own faith. So dialogue is here spoken of as an opportunity. And then this opportunity is specified. It's an opportunity to listen. Now, at this point, many devotees would have a problem with this. Why would we want to listen to others? We have the absolute truth. We know everything. And there's no value in listening to others. Well, even if we think we know everything, one thing we don't know is what others are believing. We don't know what it is that constitutes the beliefs and the practices and the values of others. And if we assume that we know, that's a problem. That's a problem for us to assume that we know what others believe. Of course, what's often the case is that others themselves don't know what they believe, don't know themselves what their values are. And in that case, just listening can be helpful for them to clarify their values and beliefs. And of course, it works the other way around. For ourselves, it can be a way of clarifying for ourselves what we understand. How do I understand what is Krishna Bhakti? If I have to articulate, if I have to speak it to others in a way that they can listen and somehow appreciate, in other words, not just speaking as if they're not in the room, but actually communicating with them, this can help me to understand what I understand. It helps me understand what I understand. So it's an opportunity to listen to others and to understand what others believe and value. It's an opportunity to develop mutual understanding and mutual trust. And it's an opportunity to share our commitment and faith with others while respecting their commitment to their own faith. So there's a major principle here, and that is respect. And we might want to say that a major aim in any interfaith activity is to establish mutual respect, mutual understanding, and mutual trust. This is very much about just practicing being human. It's not so much about being a Vaishnava specifically. It's not about identifying with our organization. It's just about being human being who has our particular experiences in life and our particular limitations, our particular hopes and fears, our particular relationships with others. It's just about being who we are and being open about who we are. And then sharing our commitment and faith with others. The word sharing, of course, may remind us of the word bhakti, because the word bhakti comes from the Sanskrit verbal root bhaj, which means to share. Since we're not in a big hurry, now I'm going to look up the word bhaj. It's here somewhere. Okay. Oops. Oh, I can't do that. Yes, I can. Sharing is paused. Oh, I wonder if I can change the sharing. Oh, wait. Okay, Bhaj. We're just now looking up. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to see if I can share this with you. What happened? Nothing happened. Okay. Oh. Okay, that's too complicated, I think.
Guru Maharaj, I think you have to stop sharing, then start sharing again and select which screen you want to share.
Oh, I see. You have to go in and out. Okay, maybe I'll do that next time.
I think might be some clever way, but I don't know it, honestly.
No, probably not. Well, maybe I can. Shall we try this?
Yes, please, Guru Maharaj, you can try.
Okay. So we're back to not sharing, and then we'll share screen again. And we'll go here. Share. There we are. Okay, what you're seeing now is one particular site called Sanskrit Dictionary. And it's quite a good website, but you need to know how, if you want to search it, you need to know, generally you need to know a fair amount of Sanskrit to know how to search. But for us now, I'll just show you this. It's giving the root, the verbal root bhaj, and you'll see it's giving all kinds of forms of the verb. And then after a few forms, then it gives some definitions. So it starts with to divide, distribute, allot, or a portion, to share with, and then it will say instrumental case. That means in the context where it's used with a noun, which is in the instrumental case. And then it goes on to grant, to bestow, to furnish, to supply, to obtain as one's share, to receive, partake of, enjoy, possess, have, to turn or resort to, engage in, assume, experience, incur, undergo, feel, go, or fall into. And so on. And then it'll give with different suffixes, and then it'll go further down, and these are just other words that start with bhaj. It even has bhaja govinda stotram. So we saw it has to share is one of the notions, one of the ideas of bhaj. But more broadly, we may say it means to divide or to distribute or allot. Allot means to give a share, to give a certain amount of something to someone. And so from this bhaj, it's generally understood that from this root, we get the word bhakti. That's not shown here. Let's see, we have bhaj, serving, seva, another giving, vishranana. These are different classes of verbs. There's 10 classes of verbs in Sanskrit. That gets a little complicated. So class 1, bhaj, and there's a class 10, bhaj. It even gives the page numbers in Monier Williams. What else does it give? Then it just gives. Oh, and then we also get, this is from Apte's dictionary, pretty much the same thing, but he doesn't transliterate his, Apte gives lots of examples for the words. So that's what you get here when you see whatever it is. Babaja, Beje, Babakshita, that's all the same thing as in Monier Williams. I don't know. And then these abbreviations, S51, I'm not sure, maybe it's Shatapatam Brahmana. Aitiriya Brahmana is one. So it's the same word, of course, is used in so many different ways in different literature. And this is what makes translation or makes learning Sanskrit interesting and also challenging. But that's true in any language. Learning Polish, oh my. Okay, so having made that side trip, I will again share screen here. Oops, yeah. Okay, that's not so complicated to make the change, although it's also not so quick. All right, well, let's go on to the third statement. ISKCON recognizes that no one religion can hold a monopoly on the truth, the revelation of God, or our relationship with God. We assert that the Lord in his individual relationships with his devotees governs these things. Now, this statement has been a bit of a shock for some devotees because you might want to say, well, we do have a monopoly. We have the absolute truth. there it is. It's been revealed to us by our Guru Parampara completely. Everything is there. Well, that's all right. We can feel like that. For ourselves, we might want to feel like that. We might want to have that understanding of another term we might want to use is comprehensiveness. A religious, that's kind of different subject, but a religious tradition, practitioners understand it to be fully comprehensive. It's not leaving anything out. And we also take our religious tradition as being unsurpassable, cannot be surpassed by anything else. And we take our religious practice tradition as central, not something that's just an add-on to our lives, but rather the very core of our lives. So then, from this perspective, we may well ask, so how do we understand such a statement? ISKCON recognizes that no one religion can hold a monopoly on the truth, the revelation of God or relationship with God. I would put it this way, if we look in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we look at Canto 2, Chapter 9, verse 36, we see that Lord Narayana, in the last of the 4 verses of the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, is urging us to search for the absolute truth in all respects. He says, directly and indirectly, anvaya vyatarekavya. Vyatarebhya, vyatarekya, anvaya vyatarekavya. Vyatareka means reverse, in reverse. It's inverse way. So, etavaneva jigyasa, tattva jigyasanatmana, anvaya vyatarekavya, yatsyat sarvatra, sarvada. One should search for the absolute truth everywhere and at all times. In other words, it's an ongoing process. It's not static, it's dynamic, it's ongoing. And the absolute truth is, one of the expressions of absolute truth is Brahman. And Brahman is that which expands. If we went back to the dictionary, Sanskrit dictionary, I think we'd find the verbal root of Brahman, br, is to expand. And as we know, Krishna is always discovering himself. His wonderful qualities are ever expanding, and he is constantly discovering these himself. And a wonderful expression of that is his appearance as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is discovering what it feels like to be Srimati Radharani. And so that is, even Krishna does not have a monopoly on the absolute truth. How's that? He is the absolute truth, and he doesn't have a monopoly. So anyway, this statement is taking the humble position, which is that the Lord can and does reveal himself in different ways, at different times, to different persons, in different circumstances. And what is being said here, this is, I think, very much Shonaka Rishi's language. We assert that the Lord in his individual relationships with his devotees governs these things. It's up to the Lord. It's up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not up to any one institution. It's not up to any group of people to determine what is this revelation. We're talking now about revelation of relationship, of one's personal connection with the Lord, which of course is ultimately unique. It's unique and it is the same as everyone, which is that we are eternal servant of the Lord. The fourth statement, ISKCON's members. So this is addressed now to members of ISKCON. Anyone who identifies more or less with ISKCON, this is addressed to them, to us. ISKCON's members are encouraged to be respectful and supportive of people of faith from other traditions, and to see the need for people of different faiths to work together for the benefit of society as a whole and for the glorification of God. We saw this toward the beginning. I showed one statement from Srila Prabhupada in which he's speaking about cooperation among different groups for spreading God consciousness. As he saw it, the main problem is godlessness, and therefore, since there are so many who believe in God, why can't we cooperate and on that platform that we agree there is God, and let us encourage others to agree that there is God. Like that. The beginning of doing that, the idea here is again, respect. Being respectful of the persons of faith. Maybe we don't find anything to appreciate in their particular faith, although Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we remember, did find something to appreciate, and he at least prayed to Krishna for more appreciation of the other's form of worship. But in any case, we can be respectful of the people of faith. And with our respect, we can acknowledge, we can see there is a need. And what is the need? It's for people of faith to cooperate, to work together for I would say not just society as a whole, but for nature as a whole, for all of nature, which is being so much destroyed by human beings today. So again, addressing members of ISKCON, so this is something we then should look at ourselves and see in what ways are we being respectful and supportive of people of faith. And finally, yes, ISKCON affirms the responsibility of each individual to develop his or her relationship with the Supreme Lord. So this is sort of taking it's setting aside the institutional dimension of religion. You may remember last time I talked about Ninian Smart's 7 dimensions of religion, and one of the dimensions is the institutional dimension. So if we set that aside as not necessarily non-essential, in this world some will argue there's no need for any institution. I think it's not as simple as that. And we've talked about how religion and politics are close together because we live in communities. There will be a political dimension. But we can set it aside to appreciate that what is most essential for everyone is his or her relationship with the Lord. And so on that level, we can also encourage people in their faith, whatever they identify with in terms of their background, their religion, and so on. We can see it as important for us as social beings to share Krishna consciousness with others. It may be the most important thing, that we encourage others to develop their relationship with God. That can be as simple as encouraging someone to pray. Pray to God. Please pray. It's good for you. You can connect with God by praying. Okay, these are the 5 statements of the official interfaith statement. I mentioned there has been put together in English and in some other languages, I think French, German, and I don't know which others, Spanish, maybe Russian. There have been a few in different languages, a pamphlet which includes not just this statement, but then some elaboration and also some responses from persons of other faiths to this ISKCON statement. So it's quite an interesting pamphlet. I've raised some questions, and as you may know, I do this seminar in Mayapur. I've been doing each year. And so we have discussions. And what we could do now is we could open it up and see if anyone wants to say something about any part or all of this statement. Anything you want to share your thoughts about it or reflections. I have, many of you may know, my godbrother Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is based in San Jose, California, a wonderful devotee, very much promoting distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. And he's a wonderful preacher, very learned in Shastra. And this last January, he gave Bhagavatam class in January, wonderful class. And he structured his lecture in a very interesting way. After opening prayers and so on, which he went on for quite some time, reciting prayers. Then he read the verse, as we always do, and then he made 2 very specific points from the verse and the purport. And then he stopped and asked, does anyone have a reflection, not a question, but a reflection on either of the 2 points which I have just made? So then followed a nice discussion for a few minutes. I think it was less than 10 minutes. And then he continued, and he spoke another 2 points based on his reflection from the verse and the purport. And then he asked, are there any reflections on these 2 points? Very specific. And again, there were some nice reflections from different devotees. And it made for a very nice discussion, a nice atmosphere, a nice experience. So I want to suggest, I think I will, is there a way, if I don't seem able to stop sharing and see the chat. Remote control, more, mute. Oh, chat is available. Let's see. Ha! I just discovered how to do this. Okay, and so is there anyone who wants to say something? You can switch on your microphone. Or does it not work to switch on anyone's microphone if I have my screen sharing on?
No, I think devotees can unmute themselves if someone wants to speak. Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone can unmute themselves.
Okay. Everyone's being very quiet. Yes.
Maharaj, Sugopi here.
Ah, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yeah, it's a nice feeling that what you gave and about the dialogues and ISKCON is quite, I never knew about that ISKCON is quite open to dialogues with other faiths. Well, then I can say that it's where ISKCON is more like a kind of institution, and we are not kind of sectarian, isolating ourselves. But I do believe that because we go through our shastras, which are quite ancient, in fact, the most ancient. So that way, we stand as quite something where the root actually starts to all the faiths and religions. So that's my reflection.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. We're naturally looking for the root. We don't want to be part of a branch of something. We want to be at the root. And we may understand Veda as the root. I was thinking about this some months ago. I was in Gujarat near Ahmedabad. I attended for 10 days. At the end of December, beginning January, I attended a course in Jainism. I wanted to find out about Jainism, and I had this opportunity. I got through connection of the academic world. And it was a very nice course. And one of the professors was in one of his lectures making this distinction, which we also make, of, I don't think he used the term astika and nastika, but he was making the distinction. There are those that accept Veda and those that do not accept Veda. And of course, the Jains are amongst those that do not accept Veda. as their root. Buddhists and Jains, we usually say. And then I was remembering what Jiva Goswami says in, I guess it's in his Tattva Sandarbha, that the totality of Veda, which we presently have available, which is extant, as it's called, which is available, is only a very small fraction of the totality of Veda. If we take the meaning of the word Veda in its broadest sense, as simply knowledge from Vit, rather than identifying Veda as the four samhitas, Rik, Sama, Yajura, and Atharva. If we take it in its broadest sense, can we imagine that there is a pool of Vedic knowledge which is so broad that we could even include as emerging out of that pool, that we could include Jainism, present day practice Jainism, and Buddhism. And that was my reflection. I maybe I could say more about it, but that's my thought. And from that perspective, then taking the word Veda in its broadest sense, we might want to say, yes, everything is, all these traditions, somehow or other, emerged from Veda. The Abrahamic traditions, if you say to them, you know, everything really comes from Veda, they're not going to appreciate that. And so you have to be a little careful because they will feel that you are being chauvinistic. Chauvinism is, I don't know how chauvinism is defined, but chauvinism is kind of saying, we are the best no matter what you say. And we will say that we are the best in a nice way so that it'll sound okay to you. I don't know. I'm just looking up. It's a French word. Okay, patriotism. Exaggerated patriotism of a bellicose sort, blind enthusiasm for national glory or military ascendancy, the French quality which finds its parallel in British jingoism. Okay, B, excessive loyalty to or belief in superiority of one's own kind of cause and prejudice against others. And then it says this can often go with an adjective. So cultural chauvinism, scientific chauvinism, male chauvinism, and so on. So what I want to suggest is, yes, we may understand Veda is the root, and it's interesting to explore how we might find Vedic connections with Abrahamic traditions. And I think we could find a lot. But I just want to say, if you're speaking to someone who says, I'm a Christian, or I am Jewish, or I am Muslim, and you tell them, you know, actually, everything comes from Veda, this might be a conversation stopper rather than opening up the conversation. That, I think that's the point I would want to make.
Yep, Maharaj, like I have been to Vatican, like I've been inside Vatican actually. So
yeah.
there yeah, yes. And there I held a bead and I counted the number of beads there. And interestingly, it's 54, just half the number we chant like 108. And in fact, even that they chant something like that, the Father and the Son, and that way the Holy Spirit. Yes, so it's quite.
There are many parallels we can find for sure. And this is also a good way to think about interfaith dialogue. We can get to that more later, but to start with similarities. Look for similarities and magnify, emphasize the similarities. We can always find differences, but if we look more for similarities, this can be much more conducive.
Even they have got some regulations before they are actually christened. Like I was attending a Sunday Mass, like eventually it happened that way, that it was Sunday and it was Sunday Mass. And the priest was actually declaring the regulations, which are quite similar to ours, but theirs is only for few days, ours is for lifetime. That's the difference.
Sorry, what was the last you said?
Yeah, their regulations are only for few limited number of days, whereas ours is for lifetime. But I found quite number of similarities, like about the regulations.
They have, of course, the period of Lent in particular is 40 days prior to Easter. Typically there will be some restrictions in diet and so on. Yeah.
And some vows as well. They're taking some vows at that time, personal vows for the different cause.
Yeah, so we can say very broadly that the practice of taking vows is something common to many traditions. And then we can think about what sort of purposes there are to making vows. And, we may see it has a lot to do with purification. So then if there's a desire for purification, why is it that we seek purification? What is that impulse that we feel that, across so many traditions that we understand we are somehow, the Christians speak of sin, we may speak of impurity, contamination. We also use the word sin, although this is very much an English word, but similar ideas are there.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, she's Chalangi Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Chalangi.
I have one small reflection, if you can call it like this. I was thinking all the time that to find dialogue among people, among religions, among practitioners of own religion, it's so difficult because of ego. I was reading once, there is very famous Jewish philosopher, Simone, I don't know if I speak right, Weil.
Simone Weil, yes.
Yes, and she was saying that as long as we do not speak from the heart, there is no connection, because if we speak from the platform of the mind or even intelligence, there is no connection. It's reaching only the mind. And if we speak from the heart, then it will reach the heart.
Yes.
And when I was also for some time with Mormons, they opened my heart from this point of view, that they were saying, if you are not sure if something is true, then you pray in your heart. You pray and you will have this support from Super Soul, from Holy Ghost, whatever. And
yeah.
I am touching this point because in ISKCON only, we have so many groups of devotees criticizing each other. How we can go to make dialogue outside of ISKCON if we cannot understand ourselves in family, among friends, in one temple, among God sisters, God brothers.
Yeah.
So this point of trying to touch people's hearts, I just, one more small thought. I was just reading Bhaktivinoda Maharaj. He was sharing his, I think you were mentioning this, that preaching in reality means to share realizations.
Yes.
So whenever people meet and they share the deepest realizations of the soul, and they speak from the soul, it's touching the soul, it's touching the heart, and then there is dialogue immediately.
Yes.
Sorry, it was long.
No, it's very nice. Thank you. Yes, and I think you've helped us come to a good point to end on. I will say one small thing, because you asked sort of rhetorically, how can we expect to have dialogue outside our society if we can't dialogue within? I agree fully, and at the same time, I don't think we have to wait until we're perfectly expert within our society and we get everybody, doing like that, and then we can start on the outside. I think individuals can do both, can make effort both. An example of this, I find, is Anuttama Prabhu, who is the international GBC minister for communications. And a few times I've had fortune to participate in interfaith dialogue events with him. That is to say, he has been the organizer. We've had these dialogues, Vaishnav Christian dialogue in South India. And I mean, he is so expert because he speaks from the heart. It's not just intellectual expertise, but he's also very intelligent, and he's able to create such a positive atmosphere, which at the same time is not just, we say in America, touchy-feely, I'm okay, you're okay, just, let's be nice to each other. No, these are, I would say, real, genuine dialogues. We're actually discussing very specific things and noticing differences and so on. And I just want to mention him as one example of a person giving an example of a devotee in our society who is very, I would say, very nicely representing he's speaking as himself. He can speak very openly and straightforwardly of his own experience, and he can also speak as representative of an institution. I've had him also on occasion speak to our group in Mayapur, and that's been very nice.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm. And then I think, Hare Krishna.
I have one point, if I can say something.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You said about this point of devotees in ISKCON that and they are surprised that I don't know, it was fourth point, that we should see all religions on the equal basis, something like that. So there was the interview with Srila Prabhupada. It was TV interview when Srila Prabhupada, the reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, so do you see any contradictions in religions, in all religions? And Srila Prabhupada said, no, there are no any contradictions. We have God, and our purpose is to love God, and that's all. So I think this could be the basis for our understanding of, the dialogue with other religions. There is no contradiction there.
Yes, and the challenge is then to recognize how there is no contradiction, because it may appear on some level that there is contradiction. And then the interesting exercise can be to communicate, to find the level where there is no contradiction.
Yeah, on a certain level, everything is clear, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we will stop there, and I will say thank you all very much again. Was this all right? I don't know. We moved it to this time, hoping that we could include devotees on the other side of the pond. And yes, I see that Divyambara is here. So I guess we're successful in that respect. For me, this time works quite all right. I hope it works for all of you. You can have lunch before or after. Okay, so shall we continue next Saturday?
Yes, Guru Maharaj, please. Let's continue.
All right. I'll say thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta-koti Vaishnava-vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Gaura Premanande Hari
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Bye.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Krishna.
Jetzt wird das Girl-Talking los. Doch wartet sie schon die ganze Zeit hier. Ey, ich kann nicht mit jemandem sprechen.
Bye bye.